Today I've had a little upgrade to the little workshop that I've got here. It's the Quirks C model lathe, sitting there ready for work. And today we acquired this. It's a Taiwan heavy duty drill press, 1978 model, so it's 43 years old. Picked it up for $100. Came with this nice little galvanized steel stand. It's not bolted into the ground as yet. I'm still deciding whether this is going to be its final spot, but it seems to fit in there quite well. I've got a little bit of room to sort of swing some longer pieces. Obviously the table moves and swivels, raises up and down, so I've got a bit of movement there. It's got an old incandescent light, which is pretty old school and works quite well. Illuminates the work surface. The only thing that concerns me is I discovered that the chuck's been replaced, and not only replaced, but it's also been, not sure if that's showing up in the video there. I'll try and spin it around a bit this way, you might be able to see. Someone's welded the chuck in place. Obviously the taper on the taper of the chuck and the spindle were not compatible, so they've decided to go ahead and rectify that. While it's not ideal, it surprisingly does run fairly true, which I'll show you. Not only that, it's actually fairly quiet. The operation of its, overall it's fairly quiet, which I'm happy with. Also, I noticed, first thing I checked was that the bearings in the spindle were still solid and no slop. As I say, it's not bolted down at the moment, so the whole machine sort of moves when you give it a wiggle, but there's no movement, no lateral movement in that spindle at all, which is really good. So it seems to show that the bearings are quite good. Come with this pretty sweet 6-inch vise. It's the sort of quick release Acme type vise, which is sort of bolted down, which I'm not quite sure that I particularly like having it permanently bolted, but I mean it seems to work and does what it's meant to do. Here's a bit of a look at the plate. Just gives you the model, KTD 16mm capacity, half horsepower, manufactured in 1978. The only issue is that this chuck that's been replaced is only a 13mm chuck, so it doesn't have that 16mm capability. I do have another chuck put away in a box down in here somewhere, and I'd like to investigate sort of what the story is with the spindle, and hopefully get it back to the way it was intended. It's a little difficult to make out what's going on there. I'll do a separate video on that at a later date, but I'd like to get it back to full capacity, 16mm capacity. But it's quite a solid unit. It's very heavy. It took me and a mate the best part of an afternoon to get it down here into the workshop and stand her up. But I mean, yeah, it's a big improvement on my little benchtop one, so I'm really happy with that. So yeah, hopefully some more videos will be coming up fairly soon on maybe upgrades, or restoring it back to the way it came out of the factory. But it's a really nice machine. It's old school Taiwanese made. As we all know, a lot of stuff these days is made in China. Yeah, this was back when they made the real deal, so fairly affordable to buy, but the quality is definitely there. So yeah, I'll update again later on.